Live. You're listening to Live with Men, the podcast.
Mambo vipi na karibu tena kwenye Men, the podcast. Mimi naitwa Michael Baruti. Nadia, hi.
Hi.
I should say namaste today. Namaste. But all right, so welcome to the Men, the podcast, as always. So yeah, kama what we always say, kwamba tunazungumzia mental health, lakini kwa wanaume zaidi, na aim kubwa ni kujaribu kunormalize conversation, wanaume kuwa na conversation, difficult conversations or normal conversations ambazo they should be normal, lakini kutokana na mazingira yetu na tulivyokuwa na tulivyolelewa endao society yetu imekuwa setup, imekuwa kidogo kuwa ngumu imekuwa vigumu kuzungumzia baadhi ya mambo. So on Men, the podcast, this is what we are trying to do. Now this is why also kujaribu kufanya maongezi yawe legit, yasiyo tu mazungumzo ya mtaani, yasiyo na mbele wala nyuma. We usually have Nadia with us. Nadia is a therapist/counselor. We're actually in our office in Masaki/Oysterbay today.
Michael always has this.
I gotta say, Nadia amenipa sababu ya kuja Masaki on a weekly basis. I live on the other side of town, you know? But Nadia ananipa sababu ya kuja Masaki on a weekly basis. Shout out to Nadia and to Mind Matters for that. Na kama unataka kuwasiliana na Nadia zaidi, kuzungumza naye zaidi, either therapy sessions au issue ambazo unaona kwamba anaweza kukusaidia, you can check out on Instagram and Twitter @MindMattersTZ. @MindMattersTZ. There's a link unakupeleka moja kwa moja kwenye website yake, utapata all means za kuweza kuwasiliana naye. So yeah, and bwana, today we are blessed. We are blessed because we have Mr. Ali. So, okay, Ali, before I start, why Ali Ventura? It took me back to Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
Was it the same thinking?
It is the same thing.
Pet detective, when nature calls.
But also, Ventura is, a huge inspiration to me. But also, I like, Ventura as in venture. And I feel like I'm a very adventurous person and like to hop onto things, stuff like that. For you, it sort of matches.
So yeah, tuko na Ali. Na Ali has a very amazing story to share with us. So, and maisha yangu yote ya kuishi hapa, if there's one thing ambacho either nimeignore au nimeshindwa kupata enough information on, kwa sababu tu ya uzembe au kwa sababu tu ya kutokubodha, ni kuhusiana na watu ambao wanaishi na kigugumizi. Tuna hawa watu in our societies, lakini we've never bothered. I've never bothered. I'm guilty of that. I've never bothered to ask anything. Actually, I've been guilty on making fun, you know? I mean, primary school, secondary school, O-level, A-level, university.
Ali's like,
I'm telling you, I've been hugely responsible kuwatania hawa watu. And for me, it was fun. Lakini, mpaka when I met Ali and then started talking to Ali, ndio maana nikaanza kuelewa zaidi about it. So, kwanza kabisa, thank you for doing the podcast with us. We appreciate this.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, so where do we start with you?
The best place to start is always in the beginning.
It's always in the beginning. So, Ali, kwanza tuende kutumia neno kigugumizi ni sawa kabisa. Sio neno ambalo it's not an offensive word.
No. It's the actual word. My only concern ni kwamba the way how it has been used in gazette, in the media, it sort of has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Like it's the word that is used to describe a stutter or a stammer. Kwa hiyo we go along with it.
We go along with it. Yeah. So ulizaliwa hivi na kigugumizi?
No. Actually, mimi nichelewa kuzungumza. So my mom tells me kwamba in the beginning I had my own language, meaning it wasn't Swahili, it wasn't Arabic or English, it was literally my own language. And
shout out to Ali invented the language.
You still remember?
How many people do that, man?
People in a psychiatric facility.
People in psychiatric. Why you have to read the book?
such shit.
Yeah.
We call it neologism.
Oh, really?
New language.
Oh, perfect.
So,
you know what? I want to inquire more about this.
Yeah.
Noted. Neologism. Wait till I use that word. Katikati ya maongezi yasiyo na maana.
Exactly what you mean. So, nichelewa kuongea because I had my own language and my mom, family in general, they were very sort of laissez-faire. They just went along with it, and to a point where my mom had a glossary of those terms. So that if I had relatives or friends, her friends coming and trying, let's go see the baby and talk to the baby, she's giving them that glossary and tell them, ukitaka kusema hiki, sema hiki, hichi, and that kind of thing. I don't remember a lot of the words, but I remember two things. It's batita, meaning money. Imagine at a young age, we all know important things. and daba. Daba meant soda. Went along with that language, and my mom said, "Bwana, basi tumekuelekeza for too long. You need to go to school, learn, English, Swahili, and that kind of thing."
Are you the firstborn?
Yes.
Okay.
Firstborn in my family, so we're three, and then firstborn in my father's side, like my paternal side. I'm the first grandchild because my dad was the first in his family. So yeah, I started speaking, normal languages in the age of 3. The latter side of 3 and 4, and then at 5, my dad passed away, and shortly after, that's when my mom said I developed Kigugumizi.
You and your dad were close?
Yes, very close. I have sort of like very vague memories, but I know that whenever he used to go out, he's like Nenda Nali. So we go around town, or whether it's like an out of town trip, or whether it's Zanzibar or something, I'd always be with him, and yeah. I miss him. I miss him a lot.
Kwa Kigugumizi kimeanza kabla hujaanza primary school. When you are right about to.
In kindergarten.
In kindergarten. Yeah. So ukaenda nayo primary school.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
So in the early stages of Kigugumizi, it was very uncomfortable, and I think what made it more uncomfortable is that my mom made it a point to correct me and rectify me every time. So, but that would be when I'm with her. So as I'm going back and forth to school, I realize that in school I'm very quiet and very, I would rather smile. I would rather smile than speak.
So reserved.
Yeah. Very reserved. And whenever I wanted to say something, I was like, I can't say this now, so I'll just try and order it and then say it perfectly after I've rehearsed it in my mind. So at school, I slowly developed a reputation being a very eloquent speaker. And that carried on like throughout primary school, middle school, till secondary. The only person who knew that I had a stutter were family at home.
Shuleni walikuwa hawajui kabisa.
Shuleni, they only had the rehearsed, the performing, because I immediately found out that I don't stutter when I'm on stage or in front of people. Like if I psych myself up, like I am gonna be saying something, words that have been prepared, whether it's by me or by my teacher, and I only this amount of words, and I'll say them in the most perfect way, the most goofiest way, most entertaining way, and that's it. And then I go home and I can just be me.
Yeah.
Kumbe ndo mambo yanazidi kukasirika, like mtoto mbona una Kigugumizi bado, my first born, and there were a lot of things that sort of imemkumba, so like I'm the first born, mtoto wa kiume, and like and balado.
At what point ulipoona kwamba, you know what, I can't have this anymore?
I remember it was during my valedictory address. I was chosen to say the valedictory address, the farewell.
Nice.
Yeah, because of such an
what a way to come out.
So yeah, I remember when I was preparing that speech, I was like, if I say, those cliches of motivation, like, we've done our best, and all those things that you expect in the valedictory address, it won't ring true to me. And also, I was like, these people, I don't know if I'm going to see them again. And I was battling in my head is stuttering for them is not going to be a thing that they associate with me. And I felt immediately that it won't be fair to people who haven't found a way to disguise it or hide with it or hide it. Yeah. So I was like, I'd rather be true here and then and not regret it, because then I think you can only perform for so long. You need to walk off the stage at some point. and then be free. And that's what I was thinking about. And after that, I was like, I'm going to have to accept this and live with it, because I know as days go on, as my experiences with the stutter increase, I'm constantly going to find new ways to deal with it and hide with it. And the joy of meeting another stutter and having that just heart-to-heart moment is something that I treasure. That's when I decided, I'm not gonna hide the stutter. I'm just not gonna hide it.
So tell us how. I mean, first of all, what you said is really, really powerful. I was like, if there's a moment about in a quote, there would have been a perfect quote. I mean, in terms of being powerful, in terms of being authentic, in terms of, I don't want people to remember me for something that I'm not. I'd rather them remember me for something that I truly am. I feel like that is the high point of the podcast so far.
Oh my God. All right, thanks so much. This is great. Have a great day.
Guys, you're out, you're done. But then I want to ask, so how was you ukaenda kutoa your speech?
Yeah.
And you admitted kwamba, I just want to know, like, what did you say?
To admit it.
Yeah, I'm trying. Ali's a comedian, so I hope you can,
You admitted to your crime.
Yeah.
You saved us
Yeah.
all these years.
All these years, Ali, how dare you? You've been lying to us. Kumbe hadi una Kigugumizi. That's what I want. How was it for you?
Oh, that speech. I still have a copy of it in back home in my folder.
Nice.
But if I'm to sum it up, it really honed in on the Shakespearean quote, "To thine own self be true." Really accept who you are, because through that acceptance of your own truth, you're gonna empower a lot of other people. Your connection with other people is gonna mean much more. It was that, and of course, trying your best. If you try your best, there's nothing else you're gonna, you're not gonna be accountable for anything. Nobody's gonna blame you and say, "Oh, you didn't try hard enough," because you're the one who measures your own effort. And you've tried your best. I said, this is the best from the table. I believe that was the sum of that.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that also when you accept yourself, you attract people who are also more accepting of you.
Yes.
And so you're bringing people in who you don't have to be anything else but yourself around.
Yeah.
But when we disguise and try to hide ourselves, then we're attracting the wrong crowd, the wrong people.
Yeah.
And then you feel like you're trapped.
Yeah. And that's very freeing, just being here. Yeah, very true.
Yeah, it is very free.
You guys just had a moment here.
I love Nadia so much.
Like you guys just had a moment. Yeah, they just had a moment. Now back to the basics.
Yes.
Back to the basics. So that was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in high school.
Yeah.
So from there onwards, what changed for you? Baada ya kukaa na open up na kusema kwamba this is it, I don't have to hide it anymore, na vitu kama hivyo, what changed for you?
A whole way of approaching the idea of presenting myself. So, for example, in uni, I made it a point, to make sure that people knew that I was a starter before I did a class presentation or a speech, because I continued with performing. I started doing stand-up in uni as well. And of course, for comedy, like when you're starting out something, you're only going to produce what you consume. So I started doing like really cliche stuff. You're Jerry Seinfeld, you're Trevor Noah. I started commenting on like stuff that I see through their style. There's nothing about me. Just me. Oh, it's a great joke. Oh, this is the kind of joke that Trevor Noah would say. Oh, cool. Man, I could be Trevor Noah. And then
That's ambitious, but doable.
Of course. Yeah. So basically, I just did what I thought comedy is. And then in 2017, September, I remember finishing a gig, a stand-up comedy gig, and then going back to the back of the room, and there was a visiting Australian comic who, at the end of the show, he saw all of us performed. It was me and like 6 other people. And it's like, what you guys did was very blunt. What you guys did was very superficial. It was like comedy, ha, move, next, ha, move, next. And we were like, okay, so like we're listening to like, what do you mean? It's like, you have to present who you are. Like, I need to hear comedy of stuff that you care. Like, they deeply care about, so that when you're done and the next performer comes on, right, I can distinguish this guy did this kind of comedy because he's this kind of person. This kind of comedy, this kind of person. And after that, it was such like a eureka moment, because I started thinking about, deeply about who I am and what I care about, and stuff that, if I walk off the stage, what does the audience linger for a bit with? And I was like, if I was to choose one thing that I want to, deeply share about, is stuttering, because it's something that I live with it, and you won't believe it. As soon as I started writing material about stuttering, it just, because at that point I was what, 25 or so? Yeah. At that point I had like 20 years of stuttering experience. so the jokes were just too much material. Like, the jokes just started flowing out, and obviously as I'm writing the material, the jokes were never about punching stutterers or punching, making fun of my stutter. It was always about making fun of people who don't know how to deal with the stutter. Because to me, that's very comical. Yeah, that's where the material is.
How do we, Ali? How do we deal? Now, Tombana Kigugumizi.
Michael, the honest truth?
Yeah, honestly.
Poorly. The public has a very poor reaction to stutter. And I'm saying this with, with good intention, because there's not much awareness about it. So people are gonna do stuff what they think is good. And I remember in the event at Juzi, so we talked about how someone is gonna see a stutterer, being in the middle of a stutter, and then ataanza kumwambia pole pole, wala usiwe na haraka, yani
take your time
nini.
Like that helps.
Kumbe that ndo kabisa unamuua the stutter. Yani you're making it more uncomfortable, because now I'm focusing on my stutter.
Yeah.
And all I'm thinking about is the anxiety of like, oh, this person is already noticing my stutter, and I need to quickly finish saying what I want to say before they lose interest and they leave. So it's those kind of things that people do out of good intention that actually make it difficult for the stutter to continue. I believe the more open people are to obviously it when I say being more open, I'm talking to the stutterers, because I'm really encouraging with the Chamuta is for people to be.
So for people who do not know, Chamuta again is
chama cha mitindo maalum ya uzungumzaji Tanzania.
We'll come to mitindo maalum, but keep going with your point of honor.
Yeah, is to be more open, because what that allows is then information to flow, because then now it's not a mysterious thing. The reason why there's not a lot of information, I'm not putting the blame on anyone, but it's because we quickly see a stutter and there's nothing that's registering. I'll give you a quick example. I was reaching out to my friends and telling them about this society that I had started, and to see if they have any stutterers in their network. And they're like, it was deep silence. Like, I know I've seen some, but I've never. It's like I've never. I don't know who to pinpoint. And I'm like, well, therein lies the problem, because now we don't know how to deal with it when it's actually happening.
Do we know the causes za kitu gani ambacho kinasababisha mtu anakuwa na kigugumizi? Because in most cases tunakutana nao, and I'm being honest here, I have never thought of till when you started talking about it loudly now, and I'm glad I came to that event kwa sababu kuna mambo mengi sana ambayo ni obvious na watu tunafikiria, and then you pointed them out. I was like, oh wow. Kama sawa ulikuwa unaongea kitu kimoja kwamba watu wanasema ukimwona mtu anaongea unaweza ukaiga au ukapata kigugumizi.
Imitation.
I think watu wanasema kama mtu ambaye ana kigugumizi ujue tu they have akili zao labda
ni ulemavu kidogo.
Yeah, akili zao ziko sawa, kuna ulemavu kidogo akili na vitu kama hivyo. So I would like for you to, and I look at you, you're one smart guy. You know,
Thank you, man.
smart.
We try.
Unajielezea vizuri kabisa na vitu kama. And I know one of my close friends, really close friends, Aden, na ana startup here.
Okay.
You know? So Aden, I went to high school with. So
Is it the one you bullied?
No, nobody can bully Aden. Aden is But so I was talking to him after the event. I'm talking to event so I met him. Then nikamwambia but first of all, alisema kuona sisi tuna chama chetu. Thank God, finally. You know, that's the first thing that he said. And second, he's anipa kwa sababu nilikuwa naongea kwamba the things you used to do in high school na kumtaria. Kama Mike, he just like Black Americans and the word nigger. You know, ambavyo wameweza kulibadilisha kutoka kwa slavery and then they change it and you know just to kutoa power kwenye that word. Anakwambia they own it. Anakwambia it's the same thing that I did with you guys kwa sababu nilikuwa najua I cannot go back and forth. Tunaweza kwa mimi what I did I embraced it. Nikakubali tukawa tunaambia siku nyingine una miss kama gari yani. Huwezi kuongea una miss kama gari au unashtua au kigugumizi. Anakwambia I had to embrace it. Yeah. And to own it, maisha endelee. You know, anasema it never bothered me, but it was just sad kwamba nilikuwa naona kwamba watu wengine they were not even trying to get more details or information out of it. So back to my original question, do you have an idea about inakuaje kinaanzia or what are the causes? Have you done some research? I know you're not a doctor, so I'm probably putting you on the spot right here, but do you know what are the causes?
So I'm constantly reading up on it, and the research are that they have all these hypotheses, hypotheses. One of these, and there's nothing confirmed.
Yeah.
And you know because it's such an ancient thing, it's millennia of people having this speech pattern, but you know because everything we do is related to the brain. So obviously that's a quick place to point that there is some sort of neurological imbalance with people who are born with stuttering or develop it later on, and then there are others who say because of trauma. So if it's something that very traumatic that happened in their lives. Of course, I was speaking to Dr. Salahuddin, a psychologist, and he said a lot of the kids in war, when they see stuff they haven't seen before, like bombs and they hear gunshots, they start to develop a stutter as well. And then the others like we were talking about the other day, where it could be someone from the family. So some of the hypotheses say that it's hereditary.
Ya kurithi.
Yeah, ya kurithi. Kwa hiyo ya kurithi inaenda sambamba na the idea kwamba mtoto ataiga. Kwa hiyo atamwona mjomba yule au auntie yule ana kigugumizi, kwa hiyo wao wataiga, and then it's going to get stuck with it. But there's nothing confirmed about this is what causes stuttering, because as soon as we have that this is what causes stuttering, then this is the cure. We know exactly how to cure it or how to get rid of it. As I've started this a society, a lot of people say, oh, so can we come and be cured of the stutter? I'm like, that's not the point. and I know a lot of people who brand themselves as like they can cure it. A speech therapist have done a really good job in identifying it early on, and so when the stutterer goes to the speech therapist, they're able to make them more aware, or that so you stutter more when this happens, or this is the kind of hand movement that you do when you are when you feel you've lost control, and of course that reduces the frequency and the severity. But as long as the stutterer is putting in that work, I'm quite sure people have approached you in this matter, or
one person.
This is the first time a guest actually memuuliza Nadia question. Ali is special like that.
But yeah, I've had once, and as Ali said, you can't really completely eliminate just with. So I'm tying it back to mental health. Just with taking care of our mental health.
Yeah.
If I stop taking care of myself, if I stop doing the work, even if you're going to see a therapist, if you as the client do not put in the work, your mental health is going to go back to where it was.
Yeah.
So it's the same with the stuttering. But there's just techniques and ways that you can go about it. You know, you can find ways to make it a bit easier to communicate what you need to communicate in a perhaps reasonable amount of time that you want, or you
fluency,
can.
because people are craving fluency.
Yes, you know, they want that fluidity in speech and in all of that. So there are ways that you can go about to create the string. Like Ali became an expert at this at an early age. I mean, if you manage to go through high school and primary school without anyone noticing, then you developed a good technique.
Yeah.
Perhaps you should write it down.
Yes.
That's something you can teach people, like a coping tool. Yeah, so it's not something you want to eliminate. It's something you want to accept that this is a part of who I am.
Yeah.
It's not who I am.
Removing the stigma.
Yes, remove the stigma, because that's the first. Like personally, if I have a stutter, I need to start accepting this speech impairment perhaps that I have, or speech difficulty that I'm having, in order for me to actually also start self-advocating. Unajua, kwa sababu most of the time, like ukiangalia mental health issues, I struggle with my mental health when I was younger. That is the reason why I went into this field. My classmates, my lecturers, wote, either a parent, a sibling, someone struggled, and then they were like, you know what? No one's doing anything. I have first-hand experience, so I'm going to do this, which is what Ali just did.
Yeah.
No one's talking about it, but now you're talking about it. It's something you are experiencing. You can empathize. You know exactly what it's like, how people don't know how to deal. You know, you've experienced all these interactions. It's much harder for mtu ambaye doesn't have a stutter. Like, and if no one in my community or no one around me has a stutter, then that awareness I don't have. Yes, we can go out and search for knowledge. Mnaambiwa dini zote zinasema seek knowledge, go all over. You know, lakini binadamu sisi ni wavivu and we like things easy. So utakuta maybe in our community, because most people wanakuwa, as you said, people get bullied for different struggles.
Yeah.
People make fun. People make fun of you, and so a lot of people hide.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just right on. Young kids repeat classes because they don't answer in class, and the teacher says, "Oh, you don't answer because you don't know," but the student doesn't answer because they're afraid of being bullied. One of our members, give a shout out to Lisa.
Yeah.
She made a tweet thread about this maybe 5 months ago. She said that she had repeated classes because the teacher thought that she didn't know the course content. But she was afraid of just speaking up.
And this is another thing. There's academic institutions. I mean, general population, sawa, we can say, you guys, it's fine, go off with your ignorance. But institutions that deal with humans, kama wewe, you are in an institution, either academic, healthcare, and how hujui about the different difficulties, changamoto watu tunazopitia, be it mental health, be it speech difficulties, you need to start educating yourself. With that example, if the teacher was more aware, unajua nowadays kuna hizi na shule hizi ambazo unalipa $10,000 and things like that. They have teachers who actually know what's going on, and pia extra support. Tukianza ku center our focus towards the actual human, then kila kitu kinabadilika. Because now it's not about the grades, it's about how do we assist you to learn? How do we, accommodate your unique way of learning into the system.
Mmeongea kuhusiana na elimu na nini na vitu kama hivyo, but I want to bring it back to the society. Kwenye jamii tunayoishi, nataka kuzungumzia wazazi, ndugu na vitu kama hivyo. How was that for you? Shule, you had a coping mechanism, but at home you are you.
Yeah.
You know, how was it nyumbani? How accepting ilivyokuwa kwao, and how did that what did that do to you as a man growing up?
My mom was the one who was on the forefront of rectifying it. And every time that I would stutter in front of her, it would be a physical rectification, a very strict verbal rectification, or she would do what I mentioned earlier. She'd say, "Pole pole Ali, pole." I'm like, "Aye." And at that moment, inazidi kuchanganya. But my mom's brother, my uncle, has a stutter. Growing up, they have all these nicknames for him. And those very subtle quips about nini ufunguo umeweka wapi, au simulize fulani atachukua muda kuambia ukatafute mwenyewe or something like this. And I'm growing up listening to all this, and only now am I remembering them, like, oh, that is damaging to my uncle. As I'm seeing him now, he and I don't mean to speak on his behalf, but objectively looking at my uncle, he doesn't have confidence. And it's heartbreaking for me to see somebody that I love and respect not have a confidence to speak up more, to go to social gatherings. He's a loner. He likes to do stuff just alone, and he hangs out. If he hangs out in Palemaskani and stuff like that, he will rarely speak. And if he does speak, it's usually because he's mad. And then when he's mad, ndo Kigugumizi kinachanganya hapo, so people
kwa hiyo miss ni ukweli kama mtu ni Kigugumizi akikasirika ndio haongei kabisa.
That is true. But I want to quickly demystify the myth kwamba wenye Kigugumizi wana hasira nyingi because of Kigugumizi. It's actually wenye Kigugumizi wana hasira nyingi kwa sababu kila wanapotaka kuongea wanakatizwa. Kwa hiyo ile pale anger builds slowly. Kwa hiyo wakiripuka, and that's like na hasira sana kwa sababu Kigugumizi. But it's actually because you haven't let them speak. I remember my cousins and my uncles, like on my dad's side, they would make fun of my stutter. And the weird thing is that they would hear, oh, Ali ametoa speech shule au kitu hiki na hiki. Asali, umeongeaje mtu mwenyewe na Kigugumizi nini? And I didn't want to, and I didn't feel like the need to tell them, oh, I have this great performing skill where I take myself out of being Ali and being a speaker character. I am me smiling it off or laughing it off. It's just to ease that interaction, but also just to I'm just accept them that someone in their family has a stutter, and this is how they think it's normal for them to react to it. And I'm speaking this just in general, and I'm pretty sure Nadia agrees with this. People are not putting enough weight on words. Mtu anaweza kaongea chochote ipitiliza tu, not knowing the effect on the person who's heard it. And nashukuru katika vitu ambavyo my stutter has really made me value is the weight of a word. A word, whether that's spoken, especially spoken, but even written. The value of you yourself writing down your thoughts and words, that is powerful. So the stuttering for me has elevated the power of words.
In the words of one of the greatest poets to ever live, called Marshall Mathers, Eminem, he said, "Words are a mother poop, because they can be great or they can degrade, or even worse, they can teach hate." I had to throw that in there.
I love that.
I had to throw that in there.
Yeah,
it's on the song called "Sing for the Moment." You always walk around with a pen or something here.
Yes.
What's that for?
So that's for two things. I love writing. So it actually started like I would write something, and then somebody will ask me to do something, especially like in uni or events or in the middle of activity. I'd be asked to do something, so I would put it in my ear, the way how fundi ceremony and other people do for ease. But also I started realizing that there are moments and very very abrupt moments where I'm hurt or maybe I'm very excited to say something, where that stutter, instead of the usual like 3-5 second range of me completing that word, it actually would take up a minute, and that's a long time, to ask anybody to wait for you to say something, And for those who do, I really love you and appreciate you. But then just realizing it's better for me if I write it down. But then as the years went on, I'm glad if the pen reminds them that they should write more.
Ali, mama may accept sasa hivi kwamba this is who you are na
Part of who you are.
a part of who you are. Na nimekubali my son is a comedian. Ameana Kigugumizi. She's come to terms with that.
My mom is an African woman with Arab heritage. Very little way that's gonna be accepted.
Yeah.
But she's a very loving woman, and she's constantly, until yesterday she called me and said, when you speak, make sure you speak slowly and I've spoken to her about starting with society, and she was very happy about the way people are responding to it, especially stutterers. She's been reading some of the comments. I don't know how she does her research, but she's been telling me she's reading some of the comments and saying that people are very grateful and wanashukuru kwamba there's a place where they can go and be heard till the end of their sentences. So yeah.
Chama cha watu wanaozungumza kwa mitindo maalum.
Mwanangu umevuruga sana. Yaani hata sijui kifupi chake kimekuaje.
Chamuta. Chako kinaitwa Chamuta. With double M.
Yes.
Chama cha mitindo maalum ya uzungumzaji Tanzania.
Now.
Okay, the whole title and the whole idea, how it came about.
So, as you know, I'm very excited about words. And I was like, this is way too long. But there's meaning behind it, and I hope it translates. Nikwamba, stuttering, if we were to openly accept it and learn about it and know how to interact with stutterers or live with stuttering, ni kwamba it is not a speech impediment. Once you say speech impediment, speech obstacles, unajenga an idea kwamba hili ni tatizo that needs to be overcome. Then what we are hoping to do with a chamuta is say this is a speech pattern, a special speech pattern, if you will, and the same way we've lived with Russian accents and Nigerian accents and British accents, for goodness sake. Yeah. I'm pretty sure we can learn to live with. Sorry, I'm not equating it.
I'm just saying. I get you. Tuna Tanzania na British accent. Tumekaa hapa miaka yote. Umeenda Uingereza siku 8. Mtu mready. Can I get some water?
In it.
Hey, can I get some water? In it. I'm like, hey, man, do you? To each
their own. So
yeah.
So I'm hoping that if we were to recognize it as a special speech pattern, that there are ways to live with it, embrace it, and hoping that results into more awareness.
You talked about Ali tuambia kwa model you gave you the money.
Yeah, model you gave me the money. He threw money at me, like, take this money.
Yeah, and it was how you got the money. We should stop taking things for granted.
Yeah.
Any tuache kuchukulia vitu poa. Kwa I think more he threw a challenge on Twitter. By the way, tunamdai interview. He said he was gonna come on the Men the podcast. I even knew the title for his show. A Billionaire State of Mind.
Mr. Muhammad Dewji, I encourage you to come. It's such a relaxing space here. You won't regret it. Utaenjoy sana.
Na sababu unaenda mom unapeana hela sasa hivi for your friends. Maneno yako yana uzito.
We are friends by association.
We are friends by association now. So yeah, tunamdai more kipindi. But then my point is talking about we should stop really taking things for granted, because more alisema kama if you have an idea, come on our there's something that you want to do, pitch.
Yeah.
Tell us via Twitter.
Yes.
Talk about kutumia mitandao ya kijamii responsibly.
Yeah.
He didn't say give me a 40-page plan and with all your financials and stuff. Just a tweet, and then of course those are 280 characters. But I always say the words are heavy if you're able to present something that you care about. So yeah, just to elaborate. So that happened in July. I pitched it. I remember it was coming in Sabasaba maybe a few days afterwards. And I'm really glad that he recognized it. And if we have time, I can quote the tweet. The pitch was, ninaandaa chama cha Watanzania wenye mitindo maalum ya uzungumzaji Kigugumizi, na lengo lake ni kukuza ujumuishaji zaidi wa kijamii, ujenzi wa ujasiri na kujithamini. Itatusaidia kujenga jamii ambapo kile tunachosema ni muhimu zaidi kuliko jinsi tunavyoisema. And he said that in Swahili and in English, and then he quoted it and said, he started with, those two hands up emoji, stuttering. So this is a methodology treating. It's so important to destigmatize stuttering in a society that has ridiculed, rejected, and even ostracized kids who stutter. Thank you for vowing to do what you can so that people don't take this as a speech impediment, but a speech pattern. I hope I can help. And a praying emoji.
That's how you got the money.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. Thank you once again.
Yeah, that was really, really nice. So I wanna know the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, do's and don'ts.
Yes. And this is, I think, also this is really, really important because I want to leave this room here a changed man.
Yeah.
In terms of naongea na watu ambao na different speech pattern.
Yeah.
Au watu wenye Kigugumizi.
I like the fact that now we're going to start referring to it as a speech pattern.
A speech pattern.
Because even in literature, putting on the speech difficulties or speech impairment, which, as you said, just feeds into the stigma.
Yes.
Yeah, so
speech pattern. I've learned something new.
We are leaving this room has changed people thanks to you. So, the do's and don'ts. Nikiwa naongea na mtu ambaye ana Kigugumizi.
So we've covered the first one, the one about, you're doing it out of good intention. Kwa hiyo unamwambia mtu kwamba bwana, usiwe na haraka, pole, tuna muda, hatuna pa kwenda, umemaliza sentence yako tu. So all these things, inamfanya mtu azidi kufocus kwenye ile hali yake. Kwa hiyo hapo unajua tena sasa mtu ambaye anastata yeye sasa hivi ndo anaanza anazidi kukujali wewe, anasema mimi napotezea muda ndio maana akasema hivi. Kwa hiyo it's sort of like it's all in the head now, right? It's all in the head, and that's giving me a lot more uncomfortability that like aside from thinking about the words that I want to say, sasa hivi nafikiria muda, nafikiria kwamba wewe you want to leave and that kind of thing. So it's not to do that. The powerful thing that you can do, is unamwangalia mtu machoni. Kumwangalia mtu machoni and they're in the middle of a stutter, that immediately assures me kwamba you value what I want to say, regardless of how long it's going to take. You're here with me right now, and you're looking me in the eyes, and you're waiting. You're just waiting for me to finish. And you're patient with me. And I cannot say how powerful that is because it's gonna ease me so much that I can help me be more fluent. And we could start having a very musical, harmonious conversation, and things could be going simply by you just looking into my eyes and being patient. Do never cut eye contact. So those are sort of like the non-verbal pointers that help. The ones that people, and obviously, all these have the root cause ni kwamba hatuna subra. So you'll have a lot of people through goodness watasema labda kaisahau tu neno, wanakusaidia maneno. And
help you finish the sentence.
Help you finish your sentences.
That's a no-no.
That's a no-no. Because you are now, aside from indirectly saying, "Komba, I don't know my words," you imagine, especially to me as a writer, I'm like, oh my God, it's so disheartening. A writer that doesn't know words.
Yeah.
So aside from indirectly saying, "Komba, I don't know words," ni kwamba you feel kwamba you're helping flow the conversation faster. So that's done out of goodness. So kuna wengine ambao wanakukatiza, because they don't want you to finish. The thing you want to say is right, and they're just trying to interrupt you, and that's just basic, rudeness.
Yeah.
It's not done out of pure intentions or nothing. It's just being rude, and obviously that makes the stutterer angry.
Tell me about your relationship with girls. Na who will get you out?
I'm blushing. I'm blushing. Thanks, Michael.
Because kwa sababu wewe ni mtu wa kuandika zaidi. You know, oh my God, it's so romantic. He wrote me a letter. He wrote me a letter. You know?
I will admit.
Kila mtu ashinde mechi zake.
Kila mtu ashinde mechi zake. I love that.
That's how it works for you.
I'll admit, yes. I love writing. So it's first of all, I say it sincerely, and it like in terms of in-person interaction. Again, it's very weird, and this, I really hope it doesn't feed into the men are trash and intrinsic liars. I really hope it doesn't fit because it's not meant for that.
Trash.
Disclaimer.
But if I see a girl that I like, obviously, as all a human being is, I need to impress her. And how can I impress her? Is I gotta have my words in check. Which character am I gonna inhabit? Obviously, a character that's not stuttering, and there's and obviously I'm saying this because you want to have a good first impression. And this is something I'm fighting because psychologically, stuttering should not be a bad first impression. But I'm just saying how I've grown up is that the first impression, I need to be a smooth talker so that the girl will I'll have her attention. So I've never stuttered when I'm approaching going dating until I get comfortable, because then I'm free, and then they sort of like notice here and there that Oli, and sometimes you stutter because they're looking very beautiful.
Right.
So that is something.
I saw that coming. I saw that coming from a mile.
So that is joyful stuttering. I actually have a very fond joke that I like to tell about the first time. Is the first time I met. I saw a girl that I really liked, and this was during a cousin's wedding, and I told my buddy Abdul that I'm gonna go speak to her and tell her how beautiful she is, and then I'm psyching myself up, and Abdul is like, yeah, you go do that, yeah. Abdul knows my stutter. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, you go do that. I'll be here. I'll be watching. And I'm like, I'm psyching myself up, and I approach her. I look her into her eyes. And I'm like, you are B, and B is a problematic letter. There are a list of problematic letters, and then it varies from stutter to stutter. And B is one mine, and I cannot say beautiful, so I get stuck on B for a really uncomfortable long time. And obviously, that poor girl was like, she was starting to look away because she thought I'm having a stroke or something. and I see her looking, her eyes are shifting from mine and looking to the right of me. And what I see here is Abdul approaching, and Abdul is looking at me and looking at her, and then looking at me and then looking at her, and then he jumps in and says, he has never seen someone so beautiful. That's why he's stuttering.
Basically that.
And then I'm like, thank you, Abdul, you're such a lifesaver.
Abdul, first class wingman.
But then, hold up. And then as soon as I'm thinking that, she starts looking at Abdul with lovey-dovey eyes.
Oh, God.
And then they start to hit it off. So, yeah, man.
So you were the winner.
Yeah, so Abdul should have stayed where he was. No.
Has the speech pattern, ever affected your mental health or well-being in any way? Well, from what you said.
Thank you. Definitely. I feel there are a lot of things that we don't see, so we don't recognize the effect on mental health until you sit down and think about it. But there have been moments where the stutter really holds me, and I'm like, oh, that was my one. I really wanted that presentation to go well, and you cannot continue to hold on to that pain, but it's inevitable. That pain sticks, and I'm like, if only I did not have the stutter. And I'll be honest, I've had that moment. If only I've not had this. I wish I was the person I pretend to be. This amazing, eloquent speaker. There have been moments where I've thought that, and since I've started Chamuta, I've been overwhelmed and I'm really grateful and nashukuru sana for everyone who's called in and sort of had a moment of confession, because I feel from the way people were sounding on the phone, it was the first time they've said that they have a study, people in their 30s, 40s. And I remember I was having a conversation with someone a few days ago, and he said, yani kaka Ali, haujui jinsi gani nauma kuona kwamba kitu ambacho nataka kukisema siwezi kusema na wenzangu wananikejeli au wananicheka, and just the fact that I'm, people are being mocked and laughed at, that it inevitably has a toll on mental health, because that person is going to go back and then bawl their eyes out in the darkness of their room, because at that particular moment they feel absolutely helpless. In terms of how it has shaped my mental health, I would say being more accepting of it has healed, has started to heal some of the pain, because, especially as I started doing comedy, is now, I have it's sort of like a fight back at the people who mock me, because now I'm mocking people, I'm mocking them for not being compassionate, not being, or not having excellent listening skills, which obviously I have now because I'm a stutterer. And all of those positive sides that I try to highlight, and we do that at Jamuta when we're meeting up with fellow stutterers, is seeing what are the blessings that we have reaped from this speech pattern. It helps me be a better writer, because my vocabulary has increased, and my vocabulary has increased because I need to know as many words as possible so that I can choose the one that is the easiest to say at this particular moment. And a patience, because I've been in that position and now I'm sort of building more and more patience. Listening skills, because now every word that a person says, I'm able to note it down, mentally and really hone into what they're saying. And of course that comes in with looking people in the eye.
Nadia, in a society ambayo kwanza we don't even discuss mental health issues, how do we start to unpack swala la watu ambao na kigugumizi na kwanza kutoka kwenye ile mentality na ujinga tulionao kichwani kwenye ufahamu wetu, upuuzi tulionao kwenye ufahamu? How do we start?
Well, we start by becoming aware. Kama if Chamuta exists now, you have no excuse of saying sijui about Kigugumizi or sijui about this special speech pattern. Unaanza kusikia about people who do have this special speech pattern. Pia labda kama in your community hujawahi ku-engage na mtu au huna rafiki au family member who has a unique or special speech pattern, then now, thanks to technology, thanks to social media, that's why I say humans are lazy. Right now we have access to literally the world in our hands for the community. I know, as human beings, we walk away from things that cause us distress or make us not feel very great. We seek things that make us feel happy and excited. And I think that's one of the big things why most people, when they're having conversation, even in general conversation, whenever the conversation starts being a bit uncomfortable for us, we look away. Mm-hmm. We don't care about others as much as we should.
Empathy.
But, yes, yeah. Empathy. One of the reasons is because kuna muda mwingi, when we look at it, when we look deep, we sometimes is a reflection of how we care about ourselves. Because when we talk about empathy, it's I can feel what the other person's going through. Next time you're going to be on that side of the table. So if I care about me enough, I know how it feels. I mean, when you know better, you do better. So like Ali anasema, you've been in that position. So now you know, even if you're sitting with someone who doesn't have a special speech pattern, I lose my words here. So you're more patient.
And that's the thought block.
Yes.
A lot of the time, especially kama kwenye magazeti, fulani apata kigugumizi wakati anaulizwa maswali.
Apata tunasema kama ni muongo.
Exactly, the first thing. There's a liar, a belly, and that kind of thing. Yeah. But that's just a thought block. What he's trying to say, because of all this, immediate attention, and obviously he's thinking about the fate of his life, he's not going to be fluent. Mm-hmm. So he's having a sort of a mismatch of what he wants to say and how can he say, because he's thinking about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yesterday usually told mfano wimbo Baada pressure when you say
Pressure.
so kwamba mbona unapata Kigugumizi.
Yeah.
The guy was actually lying though. He was actually lying.
No, exactly, he was lying, but then you should say ni mwongo. So mbona unapata Kigugumizi, because Kigugumizi at that particular moment acha mwongo.
Okay.
Yeah, so we need to start being more compassionate and more accepting, you know. Na ndio hivyo, uelewa unaongezeka. Kama wewe unasikiza hii podcast, unasikia tunazungumza, then uelewa wako obviously hata kama you don't want to, akili yako imeshafunguka. There's one new thing that you have learned. Sasa kazi ni kwako incorporate and apply into your life. Meaning unakutana na mtu ambaye has a special speech pattern. You know, umeshapewa tips. Look me in the eye. Because again, that shows that I am comfortable being in this space with you right now. And I want to be here. So assess yourself. If you're wanting to have a conversation with Ali and you know Ali has a special speech pattern, or having a conversation with Nadia and you know Nadia sometimes has his thought blocks and she'll be like, wait, hold on, the word. Because I am biting, I speak English, I speak Swahili, my mother speaks French.
Keep going. Keep going, Nadia.
So now,
keep going.
in my head, sometimes
Kinyamwezi ujui.
Kinyamwezi najua. Wangaluka to all my Nyamwezi people. You know, so I have, and ndio ndo shida saa nyingine ya kuwa shida and blessing. Ya kuwa diverse. Ni kwamba muda mwingine I can think quicker in English, but then the word that I want to say in English naijua kwa Kiswahili. Sasa nafanyaje? You know, so
actually that is such a good thing that you brought up, because I just want to point out some of those, you know, zile habari za uzushi ambazo Kigugumizi kinaanzia wapi. One of those reasons wanasema kwa sababu huyu amejifanya anataka kujua lugha zingine ndio maana anapata Kigugumizi. So
it doesn't even make sense.
I swear.
It doesn't even make sense.
You know, so unajita again, like, and that's where it helps being comfortable, like with yourself. Kwa sababu, if I'm comfortable with myself and I know these are my struggles here. Sometimes don't get Kiswahili hapo nina nasa. I'm like, the word. Nitakukalisha na wewe masaa, because I don't know the word. And then I don't want to just switch from Swahili to English just like that. I will first try my hardest to find the word in my brain. Once you've accepted that, then the people that come and interact and engage with you, they know full well this is what we're going to expect with Nadia. Freeze pale, or she will bring out a French word and we're like, what the hell? With Ali, you sit and have a conversation, you know full well Ali kashakwambia that this is a pattern that I have. Sometimes I'm very fluent and flowy. Other times, depending on your emotional state, depending on the environment, depending on many factors, anything can happen. Being comfortable in that time when someone is trying to find that flow, you have all these tips, you know, be present. And it does a lot. It's not just, and I like the fact that you mentioned it, because in therapy, that's one of the most important things. It's conveying kwamba, I am present, I am comfortable, and I want to be here, and I care.
Yes.
Because the minute you look away, it's like, I'm disengaging from you, I don't care what you're saying, the conversation might as well, it should just end. So, following all of us in the community that are listening, listen to the tips. That have been given out. Yes, no anazaliwa anajua. Yes, you don't know the struggle. Maybe you try to empathize, but you can't because you've never experienced it. Maybe you've experienced a thought block like myself, and so now you understand. Okay, mine is a thought block. This is a speech pattern, but you can use your experience to say, okay, if I felt like this, because I feel awkward sometimes, like shit.
Yeah.
Then imagine how the other person feels. You know, you don't have to literally wear my shoes and live my life to be able to empathize. You know, you can use your own experiences to see, okay, how did I feel?
Yes.
And possibly how might someone else feel. We think we are unique, but we are really all the same. Our experiences are very similar. You know, humans, we are cut from the same cloth. It's just different parts of that cloth.
If you were to go back and uwe ni mdogo na unajua kwamba nitakuja kuwa na speech pattern tofauti na watu wengine walionao, so nataka niwaambie kabisa watu mapema kwamba this will happen na vitu kama hivyo. So how would you, utawaambia nini wazazi ambao wanasikiliza now, you know? Or if you were to tell your mother back then, if you're in a position ya kumshauri then, utamwambia nini?
Na kwa kweli the best place to start itakuwa mwambie kwamba hiki Kigugumizi is not the end of my life. Kwamba and especially for my mom, I'm the first child, and and she's expecting, greatness from her first child, pride and joy, and has a speech pattern that is different from all the other kids of her peers. Immediately, I'm sort of thinking in her shoes, ni kwamba anaona kafeli yeye kama mzazi kafeli. Kwa hiyo ile hamaki na ile hamasa ya kunifanya nitoke kwenye kigugumizi niende kwa fluent talker, it's her struggle. And nataka niwaambie kwamba sio kosa lako. Wewe kama mzazi haujachagua kwamba mtoto wako awe na kigugumizi, na kwamba mtoto wako analo kigugumizi sio adhabu kwa mtoto wako, na sio adhabu kwa wewe. Mzazi anaweza akachukua nafasi hii kwamba mimi sina kosa na nina mchango mkubwa zaidi kama nikiwa na mtoto wangu. Na of course this goes on into many other things. Parents like to compare with other kids. Lakini kwenye swala hili mtoto wako hastahiki kulinganishwa na watoto wengine. And nasema kwamba tunajigamba, lakini watu wenye kigugumizi inasemekana ndio wenye akili zaidi. Kwa hiyo mtoto wako, mzazi wewe, ushukuru Mungu kwamba mtoto wako ana akili zaidi kuliko watoto wengi. Sema manani hao
One thing about you, I would like to ask you this in the last question, as you're part of we've gone way beyond. Unaongea sana. No, it has been a great conversation. I think both three of us want to ongeaji sana. So yeah, I want to ask you this. As the one thing about umesema nisingekuwa na kigugumizi, definitely hichi kitu ningekuwa nafanya.
Well, growing up unakuwa, and I'm very imaginative. And obviously, I thank God for giving me an opportunity to always build my imagination since growing up. Kwa sababu ukishachoka to pretend kwa watu ambao you're just alone, you have a lot of time to think about stuff. Kwa hiyo mimi nilikuwa nafikiria vitu vingi in terms of what I want to be growing up. Kwa hiyo I wanted to be a pirate, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a king of just like some foreign planet. So all this like random stuff.
Yeah.
But also, I would see people flow, very fast and rhythmically, rappers. And I'm like, that is the exact opposite of who I am.
Buster Rhymes and Twister.
I want to be that. I want to be, one of the things like I want to be a rapper, but this is going to be a really hard challenge.
Yeah.
So, where do you start?
Yeah.
Where do you tell someone, Kwamba, can you repeat that beat one more time? I didn't say the line that I wanted to say. And so, if I was to choose one thing, I think it would be that. Not being able to rap.
And that was funny.
And obviously, through rap is also another association that I have with an appreciation for words. Because I'm saying, oh my God, he's playing with those words so nicely. And those are all my friends. All those words are my friends.
Yeah, so Ali, thank you for coming through. This has been a very great conversation. It's a learning session for me as well, kwa sababu na watoto ndugu zangu ambao na ndugu zangu na watoto ndugu zangu, I have my friend, like I said, one of my closest friends.
Yeah.
Na watoto ndugu zangu kwa wengine bado labda wamechelewa kuzungumza. Wengine wapo ambao kabisa wana kigugumizi, and in most cases either tunachukulia or we do not take deliberate efforts.
Indeed.
Deliberate efforts za kujua kwamba okay, huyu mtu ana kigugumizi, I need to be more supported.
Yes.
Instead of, na sio kwa nia mbaya, just because like you say, if you know better you do better. Labda kwa sababu tuna a lot of information, so sometimes either tunacheka au tunaanza kumwambia vizuri au nini na vitu kama hivyo. So this for me, it has been a very personal episode kwangu as well. So thank you sana kwa kuja, and please keep talking about this.
I will. And thank you for giving the opportunity, because being allowed a space I hope is the start. Just a space to speak about it on great platforms like these is.
He just said great platform.
Of course. Michael, what else would I say?
My weekend is made. Now I can have my beers peacefully.
But I do want to remind people that just starting out, and it's very important for us to have the numbers right. So for example, I said it's estimated there are about 600,000 watu laki sita wenye Kigugumizi Tanzania. Kwa hiyo I encourage people to go to the page on Twitter at Chamuta. There's a registration link on the bio there. Kwa hiyo kuna fomu ya usajili na pia atakupa wewe personally, like in your WhatsApp, you can sort of send it around.
Sure.
And usajili wa Chamuta sio kwa watu wenye Kigugumizi tu, kwa sababu we believe kwamba Kigugumizi is a shared experience. Kwa hiyo wale wazazi, wanafunzi wenzako au mtu ambaye unafanya naye kazi and you personally don't have a starter, lakini you want to be an ambassador, or you want to help raise more awareness, we welcome.
Yeah. So if people want to get at you, it's through Twitter and Instagram mostly?
Yes, Twitter and Instagram. At Venturali.
At Venturali.
At VENTURALLY.
Instagram,
the same thing.
The same thing. Yeah, and Nadia, it's at Mind Matters, both Twitter and Instagram. Ukiingia kwenye both of those bios, takupeleka moja kwa moja kwenye website yake. Mimi naitwa Michael Baruti. Check us out at Men the Podcast on Twitter, at Men the Podcast on Instagram. Thank you for listening. Ali, thank you for coming through.
Sure.
This has been great. Till next time, guys, we are out.
Men, the podcast.